The Silent Guardians. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the edge of the Mariana Trench research platform, watching the massive excavation robots disappear into the abyssal darkness below. After 3 years of unexplained energy signatures and countless funding requests, they were finally about to uncover what lay beneath the Pacific's deepest point. The discovery of the crystalline structure 2 months ago had changed everything. Its perfect geometrical patterns couldn't have been natural. Energy signature is still stable, Dr. Marcus Rivera called out from his monitoring station. Whatever's down there, it's been active for a long time, probably longer than human civilization. Sarah nodded, her eyes fixed on the depth readings. The excavation team had already surpassed the previous record for deep-sea operations, thanks to the new pressure-resistant alloys developed by her team. But something told her they were about to make history in a far more significant way. Contact in 3, 2, 1. The entire platform shuddered as the excavation beam hit something solid. Sarah rushed to the monitoring station, her heart pounding as the first images came through. The structure was massive, easily covering several square kilometers, its surface decorated with intricate patterns that seemed to pulse with their own inner light. "My God," Marcus whispered. "It's not just a building. It's a city." Before Sarah could respond, every screen on the platform lit up with the same message. Genetic signature recubogenized. Initiating awakening protocol. The next 48 hours changed everything humanity thought they knew about their origins. Similar facilities activated across Earth's oceans, each one containing vast archives of information about humanity's true history. They weren't just another evolved species. They were the result of careful genetic engineering by their own ancestors. The truth was both beautiful and terrifying. 50,000 years ago, humanity had reached a level of technological advancement that allowed them to seed the galaxy with life. But they had also discovered something that threatened all existence: the harvesters, entities that consumed entire civilizations for their biological and technological distinctiveness. Rather than face extinction, humanity had enacted an ambitious plan. They would hide their technology, modify their own genetics to appear as a naturally evolved species, and wait. But they didn't just go into hiding. They turned Earth into the ultimate evolution engine. The gravity, the radiation, the constant natural disasters. Sarah explained to the UN Security Council. Earth isn't just a harsh planet. It's a purposefully designed proving ground. Every challenge we faced as a species was intentionally crafted to create the perfect defenders against the harvesters. The evidence was undeniable. Human beings possessed capabilities that defied conventional evolution: unprecedented pattern recognition, extreme adaptation to stress, and an almost supernatural ability to improvise in crisis situations. What had seemed like lucky quirks of evolution were actually carefully designed features. But the greatest revelation came when the first alien ships arrived in response to the facility's activation. The galaxy wasn't empty. It was full of life, most of it seeded by ancient humanity. The arriving species were diverse. Each evolved to thrive in different environments, each contributing unique strengths to the galactic community. Admiral James Chen, Sarah's father and now humanity's representative to the Galactic Council, stood before the assembled alien delegates. "Our ancestors didn't just prepare us to fight," he explained. "They prepared us to lead, to unite, to bring together the greatest strengths of all species. The harvesters are coming, but this time, we're ready." The alien representatives shared their own discoveries. Ancient facilities on their worlds, technologies that seemed to be waiting for human activation, and prophecies about the return of the ancient guardians. Each species had been guided along its own evolutionary path, developing unique capabilities that would complement human abilities. Sarah found herself working with alien scientists to integrate their technologies with the recovered human systems. The Centaurians, with their silicon-based biology, could process quantum information in ways organic brains couldn't match. The Proxima species had developed energy manipulation techniques that seemed like magic. Together, They were building something greater than any single species could achieve. But time was running out. The activation of the ancient facilities had sent a signal across the galaxy, a signal the harvesters couldn't ignore. Early warning systems detected their approach, massive fleet movements at the galaxy's edge. They would arrive within months. "We're not ready," Marcus argued during a strategy session. "We've barely scratched the surface of the ancient technology. We need more time." Sarah disagreed. "We're more ready than we've ever been. Look at what we've already accomplished." She gestured to the holographic display showing the integrated defense network they'd established. Every species brings something unique to the table. The Centaurians' quantum processing, the Proximan energy weapons, our tactical adaptability. It's exactly what our ancestors planned for. The first skirmishes with Harvester scout ships proved Sarah right. Human tactical innovations, combined with alien technology and the recovered ancient systems, proved devastatingly effective. The Harvesters had evolved to counter predictable strategies, but humanity's chaos factor, their ability to make intuitive leaps and seemingly irrational decisions that proved correct, gave them an edge. As the main Harvester fleet approached, Sarah made another breakthrough. The genetic modifications weren't just about physical capabilities. They had encoded specific technological knowledge in human DNA. Under stress, humans were beginning to access this information unconsciously, leading to technological innovations that seemed to come from nowhere. "We're not just reading the manual," she explained to the Galactic Council. "We are the manual. Every human being carries within them a piece of the knowledge we need. As the threat grows, more of this knowledge will surface." The council chambers erupted in discussion as the implications became clear. Humanity hadn't just been preserved. They had been transformed into living weapons, carrying within them the accumulated knowledge of their ancestors, waiting for the moment it would be needed most. Admiral Chen deployed the first wave of hybrid ships, vessels that combined recovered human technology with innovations from multiple species, all controlled by human intuition, enhanced by alien processing systems. The results exceeded all expectations. The Harvester scouts were driven back, their adaptive strategies confused by the unpredictable combinations of technologies and tactics. But Sarah knew this was just the beginning. As she stood in the ancient facility deep beneath the Pacific, watching new systems activate in response to the approaching threat, she understood that humanity's journey was just beginning. They weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting to prove worthy of their ancestors' trust, to show that all those millennia of guided evolution hadn't been in vain. The facility's crystals pulsed with increasing frequency, and new rooms opened, revealing technologies that would change the course of the coming war. But more importantly, they revealed the true scope of the ancient plan. Humanity hadn't been preserved just to fight. They had been preserved to unite, to bring together the diverse species of the galaxy into something greater than the sum of its parts. As the first reports of major Harvester fleet movements came in, Sarah felt not fear, but anticipation. Humanity had spent 50,000 years unknowingly preparing for this moment. They had evolved not just physically, but culturally, developing the very traits needed to unite diverse species against a common threat. The silent guardians had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. End of Part 1. Trial by Fire. Captain Maya Rodriguez had never seen anything like it. The Harvester vessel twisted in ways that defied physics, its biomechanical surface rippling as it adapted to the combined fire from 3 different species' weapon systems. Through the neural interface of her command chair, she felt rather than saw the status updates from her crew. A mix of humans, Centaurians, and Proxima specialists, each bringing their unique capabilities to the battle. "They're learning our patterns," Lieutenant Zinnex announced, their crystalline form glowing with increasing intensity. The Centaurians' quantum-based nervous system processed combat data faster than any organic brain, but even they sounded worried. Conventional targeting algorithms are becoming ineffective. Maya closed her eyes, letting the neural interface feed combat data directly into her consciousness. The harvester's adaptation rate was incredible, but something about its movement tickled a memory she didn't know she had. Switch to manual targeting control. All gunners, fire on instinct, no fixed patterns. The order went against every principle of modern space combat, but Maya had learned to trust these strange intuitions. Ever since the activation of the ancient facilities, humans across the fleet have been experiencing similar moments of inherited knowledge surfacing at crucial moments. The effect was immediate. The harvester's adaptive shields, designed to analyze and counter regular attack patterns, couldn't predict the seemingly random fire from the human gunners. Holes appeared in its defenses, and concentrated fire from the Proximan energy cannons tore through its vital systems. Multiple contacts. The sensor officer's voice carried an edge of panic. 5 more harvester vessels, larger class. They're using the debris field for cover. Maya felt her heart rate increase, but instead of fear, she experienced an almost euphoric clarity. This, she realized, was what 50,000 years of engineered evolution had prepared them for. The constant threats on Earth, the endless challenges, the need to make split-second decisions under extreme stress. It had all been training. All ships, execute Protocol Omega, she commanded. It was a tactic they'd developed just days ago, combining human intuitive combat with Centaurian quantum calculations and Proximan energy manipulation. In theory, it should work. In practice, they'd never attempted it in actual combat. The Allied fleets split into seemingly chaotic patterns, each ship moving according to their human commander's gut instincts, while Centaurian systems calculated precise firing solutions. Proximan energy weapons charge, their crystalline matrices humming with power that could tear apart space itself. The harvesters emerged from the debris field in perfect formation, their ships morphing to present minimal target profiles. But they had evolved to counter logical, predictable opponents. The human-led assault defied prediction, each ship moving in ways that seemed random but were guided by deep-seated combat instincts engineered into human DNA. Energy spike, Zinx reported. They're attempting some form of quantum communication, trying to coordinate their adaptive responses. Maya felt another piece of inherited knowledge surface. That's their weakness. All ships concentrate fire on the lead vessel, force them to adapt individually rather than as a group. The battle that followed would be studied for generations. Human intuition led ships through maneuvers that should have been impossible, while Centaurian processors turned those instinctive moves into perfectly timed attacks. Proximan weapons fire twisted through space in ways that denied the enemy any safe harbor. But the harvesters were far from helpless. 2 Allied ships were lost in the first exchange, their crews barely managing to evacuate as their vessels were consumed by the enemy's adaptive weapons. Each loss hit Maya like a physical blow through the neural interface, but she forced herself to maintain focus. "They're trying to herd us toward the gas giant," her tactical officer observed. Standard divide and conquer strategy. Maya felt a smile spread across her face. No, they're not hurting us. They're following their own evolutionary programming. Look at their formation. It's perfect, too perfect. They can't help but try to impose order on chaos. She opened a channel to all ships. "This is Captain Rodriguez. All vessels, execute random jump patterns. Don't plan your jumps, don't calculate them. Trust your instincts. Our ancestors built this capacity into us. Time to use it." The Allied fleet burst into action, ships jumping in and out of normal space in patterns that looked like madness, but carried a deeper purpose. The harvesters' perfect formation broke as they tried to track multiple targets moving in fundamentally unpredictable ways. "Energy weapons at full charge," the Proximan weapons officer announced. "But we can't get a target locked through all this interference." "We don't need one," Maya replied, another piece of inherited knowledge surfacing. "The jumps are creating quantum entanglement points. Fire through those. The Proximan energy weapons will find their own paths." It was impossible. It defied every known law of physics. But when the Proximan officer triggered their weapons, the energy beams curved through space, following paths of quantum disturbance created by the random jumps. The Harvesters, for all their adaptive capabilities, couldn't defend against attacks that violated causality itself. 3 enemy ships died in the first barrage, their biomechanical forms torn apart by weapons fire that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The remaining vessels attempted to retreat, but found themselves trapped in a web of quantum distortions created by the Allied fleet's chaotic movements. "All ships, close the net," Maya ordered. The Allied fleet moved as one, guided by a combination of human instinct, Centaurian precision, and proximate energy manipulation. The remaining Harvesters fought to the end, their adaptive capabilities pushing the limits of physical possibility, but they couldn't match the unpredictability of their opponents. When the last enemy vessel fell silent, Maya allowed herself a moment to process what had just happened. They had faced humanity's ancient enemy for the first time in 50,000 years, and they had won. Not through superior technology or numbers, but through the very traits their ancestors had engineered into them. The ability to embrace chaos, to act on instinct, to make the impossible possible. The victory came at a cost. 3 Allied ships lost, hundreds of crew members dead or injured. But they had proven something crucial: the Harvesters could be beaten. More importantly, they had demonstrated why humanity's ancestors had gone to such extreme lengths to engineer their descendants. Analysis coming in from the Centaurian processors, Zinx reported. The random jump patterns weren't random at all. On a quantum level, they followed mathematical principles we've never seen before. It's as if human instinct can naturally calculate 11-dimensional space-time geometry. Maya nodded, understanding flowing through her like a current. Not calculate, feel. Our ancestors didn't just give us better reflexes or stronger bodies. They gave us the ability to intuitively understand aspects of reality that should require massive quantum computers to process. The implications were staggering. Every human being carried within them capabilities that transcended normal physics, accessible not through conscious thought, but through pure instinct. The harsh conditions of Earth hadn't just made them stronger. They had forced these abilities to remain sharp, generation after generation. As recovery operations began, Maya received a priority transmission from Fleet Command. More Harvester vessels had been detected approaching from multiple vectors. The battle they had just won was only the beginning. "Send word to all ships," she ordered. "What we did here wasn't luck or desperation. It was who we are, what we were made to be. The Harvesters evolved to impose order on chaos. We evolved to turn chaos itself into a weapon." The crew, human and alien alike, straightened at her words. They had just witnessed something unprecedented, the first proof that the combined strength of multiple species, led by humanity's engineered capabilities, could defeat an enemy that had terrorized the galaxy for eons. As her ship's quantum drive spun up for the jump back to the rally point, Maya felt another piece of inherited knowledge surface. The battles ahead would be harder. The Harvesters would adapt, would learn from this defeat. But humanity would adapt faster, would unlock more of the capabilities hidden in their engineered DNA. The trial by fire had begun, and humanity had proven worthy of their ancestors' trust. End of Part 2. The Awakening. Dr. Sarah Chen woke to the sound of breaking glass. In the dim light of her lab, she could see the shattered remains of her coffee mug scattered across the floor. Except the pieces weren't scattered at all. They hung suspended in midair, caught in a field of distorted space that emanated from her outstretched hand. "Not just me, then," came a voice from the doorway. Marcus stood there, his own hand trailing wisps of quantum distortion. "It's happening all over the planet. The dormant genes are activating." The phenomenon had begun 3 days after the first major victory against the Harvesters. At first, it manifested as dreams, billions of humans simultaneously experiencing visions of advanced technology and impossible physics. Then came the headaches, the fever, and finally, the changes. "The medical wing is overwhelmed," Marcus continued, carefully stepping around the suspended coffee mug fragments. 8 billion people simultaneously undergoing genetic activation. We're lucky the ancestors built fail-safes into the process, or we'd have mass panic on our hands. Sarah nodded, carefully relaxing her inadvertent hold on the ceramic pieces. They clattered to the floor as normal physics reasserted itself. The genetic memories are integrating faster than we anticipated. The harvester threat must have triggered some kind of emergency protocol. She pulled up the latest global data on her holographic display. The changes varied from person to person, but followed distinct patterns. Some, like her, were developing direct quantum manipulation abilities. Others were experiencing enhanced cognitive functions, able to process information at speeds that matched Centaurian quantum computers. Still others were manifesting physical enhancements, improved strength, reflexes, and sensory capabilities that defied conventional biology. The Proximan observers are fascinated, Marcus noted, gesturing at another display showing theoretical models of the changes. They say we're evolving along paths they thought impossible for carbon-based life. Before Sarah could respond, an alert flashed across her screens. Another harvester fleet had been detected, larger than the first, approaching from a different vector. But instead of fear, she felt a strange sense of anticipation. "They're right on schedule," she murmured, another genetic memory surfacing. The ancestors knew the first victory would draw a stronger response. That's why they timed the activation sequence the way they did. The next few weeks transformed human civilization. As people learned to control their new abilities, society reorganized itself with remarkable efficiency. Those with enhanced cognitive capabilities naturally gravitated toward strategic and scientific roles. Those with physical enhancements formed new military and defensive units. Those with quantum manipulation abilities began working with Proximan engineers to develop entirely new forms of technology. Admiral James Chen, now showing signs of precognitive capabilities, addressed the United Earth Council. "We are becoming what we were always meant to be. Not just survivors or warriors, but the next step in guided human evolution. The ancestors didn't just prepare us to fight the harvesters, they prepared us to surpass them." The changes weren't without challenges. Relationships strained as people struggled to adapt to their new capabilities. Families dealt with children suddenly able to perceive quantum states or manipulate probability fields. The entire human educational system had to be redesigned to accommodate abilities that hadn't existed weeks ago. But the encoded memories provided guidance, helping people understand and control their emerging capabilities. It was as if humanity had a built-in instruction manual, written into their DNA by ancestors who had foreseen every challenge they would face. Sarah found herself working with a global team of newly enhanced scientists, their combined capabilities allowing them to make technological leaps that would have taken decades under normal circumstances. The ancient facilities provided raw materials and basic templates, but humanity's awakened potential took those starting points in directions even their ancestors might not have imagined. "Look at this," she said to Marcus, displaying a simulation of their latest project. By combining quantum manipulation abilities with Proximan energy technology, we can create weapons that don't just damage harvester ships, they prevent them from adapting in the first place. Marcus nodded, his enhanced cognitive processing allowing him to understand principles that would have seemed like magic weeks ago. Their adaptive capabilities rely on quantum observation and response. If we can manipulate the quantum state of space itself, we can blind them. Sarah finished. Not just their sensors, but their fundamental ability to perceive and adapt to threats. The breakthrough came just in time. The second harvester fleet was larger and more advanced than the first, clearly modified to counter the tactics that had proven successful in the previous battle. But they weren't prepared for what humanity had become. Sarah watched from the command center as the first engagement began. Human ships, now crewed by enhanced individuals working in perfect synchronization with alien allies, moved in ways that seemed to ignore physics entirely. Quantum manipulators created zones of altered spacetime, while enhanced tacticians predicted and countered harvester adaptations before they could fully form. They're trying to adapt, one of the tactical officers reported, her enhanced senses picking up subtle changes in the enemy fleet's behavior. But they can't compensate for abilities they can't even perceive. Their evolutionary algorithms are failing. The battle was shorter than the first, but no less intense. Human quantum manipulators worked in concert with Proxima energy weapons, creating corridors of altered space through which attacks could bypass harvester defenses entirely. Enhanced pilots performed maneuvers that would have torn normal ships apart, their intuitive understanding of physics allowing them to find paths through space that shouldn't have existed. But the most significant change was in how the various enhanced abilities worked together. Those with cognitive improvements could instantly process and coordinate complex tactical data. Those with physical enhancements could operate ships and weapon systems beyond normal human capabilities. Those with quantum manipulation powers could create opportunities that others could exploit. When the last harvester ship fell silent, the victory felt different from the first. Not just a triumph of desperation and inherited instincts, but a demonstration of humanity's new potential. The ancestors knew this would happen. Sarah realized, another genetic memory surfacing. The first battle proved we could fight the harvesters. But this, she gestured at the tactical displays showing the aftermath. This proves we can surpass them. The data from the battle provided new insights into humanity's transformation. Each engagement with the harvesters seemed to accelerate the integration of genetic memories and abilities. It was as if combat stress served as a catalyst, pushing human evolution along paths laid down 50,000 years ago. It's not just about fighting them, Marcus observed, reviewing the data. Look at how the different abilities complement each other. The ancestors didn't just give us weapons, they gave us the potential to become something entirely new. The implications extended beyond military applications. Enhanced humans were making breakthroughs in medicine, physics, and dozens of other fields. The combination of awakened abilities and genetic memories was pushing human knowledge far beyond what either their ancestors or their alien allies had achieved. But Sarah sensed this was still just the beginning. Each day brought reports of new abilities manifesting, new combinations of capabilities producing unexpected results. Humanity wasn't just changing, it was evolving in real time, guided by both inherited knowledge and the pressure of immediate threats. We need to prepare for the next phase, she told the Global Science Council, now composed of enhanced individuals from every field. The harvesters will come back stronger, having analyzed our new capabilities. We need to be ready. The council agreed, but Sarah noted a shift in their perspective. The fear that had underlaid their earlier preparations was gone, replaced by a quiet confidence. Not arrogance, they were too aware of the stakes for that, but a deep certainty that humanity was on the right path. As she looked out over the transformed Earth, where quantum distortions danced in the sky and enhanced humans went about rebuilding society around their new capabilities, Sarah felt another piece of genetic memory surface. The ancestors had taken an enormous gamble, engineering their descendants to unlock such powerful abilities. But they had also built in the wisdom to use those abilities responsibly, the understanding that power without purpose was meaningless. The awakening wasn't just about gaining new capabilities, it was about becoming the species they were always meant to be. As the sun set on another day of transformation, Sarah knew that whatever the harvesters brought next, humanity would be ready. Not just to fight, but to prove worthy of their ancestors' trust and sacrifice. End of Part 3. Unity's Edge. The Centaurian crystalline structure pulsed with patterns of light as first speaker Zinnex addressed the assembled representatives of 27 spacefaring species. The grand chamber of the newly constructed Unity station hung in high orbit around Earth, its transparent walls offering a view of the combined fleet that represented the greatest alliance in galactic history. We have all witnessed the awakening of humanity's true potential. Zinex's thoughts resonated through the quantum translation field. But more importantly, we have seen how their abilities complement our own. The Terran Defense Coalition cannot be merely an alliance. It must become a true synthesis of all our strengths. Captain Maya Rodriguez, Her quantum manipulation abilities, now fully developed, stood at the podium next to the Centaurian speaker. The last 3 months had proven that humanity's enhanced capabilities could work in perfect synchronization with alien technologies, creating possibilities that neither side could achieve alone. The harvesters adapt by analyzing and countering predictable patterns, she explained, generating a quantum simulation in the air before her. But when we combine Centaurian quantum processing, proximate energy manipulation, Rigelian phase technology, and human intuitive abilities, we create something they fundamentally cannot predict or counter. The simulation showed their latest victory, a battle where human quantum manipulators had created corridors of altered spacetime, through which proximate energy weapons were guided by Centaurian targeting systems, while Rigelian ships phased in and out of normal space to deliver killing blows. The harvesters hadn't just been defeated, they had been rendered effectively blind to the attacks that destroyed them. Dr. Sarah Chen, watching from her position among the Earth delegation, felt another piece of genetic memory surface. This was always the plan, she whispered to her father, Admiral Chen. The ancestors didn't just prepare us to fight. They prepared us to unify the galaxy in ways no single species could achieve alone. The evidence was becoming clear. Each species that humanity's ancestors had seeded across the galaxy had evolved along paths that complemented human capabilities. It wasn't just convergent evolution. It was intelligent design on a galactic scale. The Rigelian ambassador, their phase-shifted form shimming slightly, approached the central platform. Our scientists have discovered something remarkable in our own genetic archives. The ability to shift between phases of matter. What we thought was our natural evolution was engineered to work specifically with human quantum manipulation abilities. Similar revelations have been emerging across all allied species: the proximate mastery of energy, the Centaurian quantum consciousness, the Arcturian temporal sensitivity. Each capability had been designed to integrate with humanity's potential once it was fully awakened. The coalition cannot be structured like traditional alliances, Admiral Chen addressed the assembly. We need a new paradigm, one that allows for instant integration of our various capabilities, while maintaining the unique identity and sovereignty of each species. The solution came from an unexpected source, a team of enhanced human children. Their young minds, more adaptable to their new abilities, had discovered they could create stable quantum entanglement fields between individuals of different species. These fields allowed for instant communication and coordination while preserving the distinct consciousness of each participant. The first practical test of this new integration came sooner than expected. Long-range sensors detected the largest harvester fleet yet seen, approaching from multiple vectors. But rather than fear, the coalition felt a sense of anticipation. This would be the first true test of their unified capabilities. Maya found herself aboard the flagship of the new coalition fleet, commanding a crew that represented 7 different species. The neural interface had been modified to accommodate multiple forms of consciousness, allowing for instantaneous coordination between vastly different types of minds. Harvester fleet dropping out of FTL. Her Arcturian sensor officer reported, their temporal sensitivity allowing them to detect the enemy ships moments before they actually appeared. They've adapted to our previous tactics. Energy signatures suggest completely new defense systems. Maya smiled, feeling the quantum entanglement field connecting her to the entire coalition fleet. Let them adapt. Every change they make is based on what they think is possible. Show them what unity really means. The battle that followed redefined the nature of space warfare. Coalition ships moved in perfect synchronization, their actions guided by a combination of human intuition, Centaurian quantum calculations, and Arcturian temporal awareness. Proximate energy weapons, enhanced by human quantum manipulation, created patterns of destruction that ignored conventional physics. But the true power of their unity showed in how they adapted. When the harvesters deployed new countermeasures, the coalition forces didn't just react. They evolved their tactics in real time. The quantum entanglement field allowed for instant sharing of ideas and observations across the entire fleet, with each species contributing their unique perspective to develop solutions no single race could have conceived. "They're trying to analyze our attack patterns," Maya's Centaurian tactical officer observed. "But there are no patterns to analyze. Every action emerges from the real-time interaction of multiple species' capabilities." The Harvesters, for all their adaptive power, faced a fundamental problem. They had evolved to counter threats that followed logical progression, that could be analyzed and predicted. But the coalition forces operated on principles that transcended conventional logic, combining abilities in ways that produced essentially random but devastatingly effective results. Sarah, monitoring the battle from Unity Station, recognized what was happening. "The ancestors didn't just give us the ability to fight the Harvesters," she explained to the assembled coalition leadership. "They gave us the ability to evolve faster than them, not just individually, but as a unified force." The evidence played out before them. As the battle progressed, new combinations of abilities emerged spontaneously. Human quantum manipulators learned to create spaces where Rigelian phase technology could be amplified. Proximan energy weapons, guided by Centaurian quantum calculations and human intuition, achieved effects that defied their original design parameters. When the last Harvester ship fell, the victory felt different from all those that had come before. This wasn't just survival or resistance, it was transcendence. The Coalition had demonstrated something unprecedented in galactic history: the ability of multiple species to act as a single unified force while maintaining their individual strengths and identities. The aftermath brought new discoveries. The quantum entanglement fields connecting coalition forces had left lasting changes in all participants. Species that should have had difficulty communicating found themselves able to share concepts and experiences with unprecedented clarity. Technological systems from different worlds began showing signs of spontaneous integration, as if the unity of their users had inspired unity in their tools. "We're not just combining our abilities," Maya reported to the Coalition Council. "We're evolving together, finding new ways to transcend our individual limitations." The Harvesters adapt by analyzing and copying. We adapt by creating something entirely new. The implications extended far beyond military applications. Coalition scientists from dozens of worlds found themselves able to collaborate on levels previously thought impossible. Technologies that had been incompatible began finding ways to work together. It was as if the act of unifying against the Harvesters had awakened potential that had laid dormant in all coalition species. Sarah, reviewing the data from the latest battle, felt another piece of genetic memory surface. The ancestors knew this would happen, she realized. They didn't just engineer us to fight. They engineered us to catalyze change in every species we encountered. The Harvesters forced us to activate these abilities sooner than planned, but this was always our destiny. As Unity Station's construction continued, incorporating technologies and design principles from all coalition species, the true scope of humanity's role became clear. They weren't meant to be leaders in the traditional sense, but catalysts, the species that could bring together the diverse powers and perspectives of the galaxy into something greater than the sum of its parts. The next wave of Harvesters would be stronger still, but the Coalition faced the future with growing confidence. Every battle, every collaboration, every moment of unity made them stronger in ways their enemy couldn't match. The age of isolated species was ending, replaced by something that honored and amplified their differences, while forging them into an unprecedented whole. Maya, standing at Unity Station's observation deck with representatives from across the Coalition, watched their combined fleet perform maneuvers that would have seemed impossible months ago. "We're not just fighting for survival anymore," she observed. "We're fighting for the future we were all meant to create together." The edge of unity had been reached and crossed, and there would be no going back. End of Part 4. Legacy of the Stars. The quantum alerts came simultaneously across every Coalition world. The Harvesters had committed their entire remaining force to a single, massive offensive. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in Unity Station's Central Command, watching as the largest fleet ever recorded dropped out of FTL travel. Not just ships, but mobile world forms, entire artificial planets converted into weapons platforms. They're desperate. Admiral James Chen observed, his enhanced precognitive abilities sensing the patterns in the enemy's approach. They've realized that every battle makes us stronger. This isn't just an attack. It's an attempt to end us before we can reach our full potential. The Coalition's response was immediate and unprecedented. Ships from 27 species moved in perfect synchronization, their crews linked by quantum entanglement fields that had grown stronger with each passing engagement. But Sarah knew that conventional military power, even enhanced by their unified capabilities, wouldn't be enough this time. "It's time," she announced, another genetic memory surfacing with crystal clarity. "The ancestors left us one final gift, a weapon that could only be activated when all pieces were in place. The evidence had been there from the start, hidden in plain sight. The ancient facilities weren't just repositories of technology or genetic engineering labs. They were nodes in a vast network, spread across every world the ancestors had seeded with life. Each species' unique evolution, each technological breakthrough, each step toward unity had been preparing them for this moment." Captain Maya Rodriguez, commanding the Coalition flagship, felt the change begin. The quantum entanglement fields linking the fleet weren't just allowing for communication and coordination. They were becoming something more. Each crew member, regardless of species, experienced a sensation of expansion, as if their consciousness was connecting to something vast and ancient. "The network is activating," Maya reported, her voice resonating with newfound power. "Every Coalition world, every ancient facility, every piece of technology we've recovered, it's all part of a single system, and we're the key to turning it on." The Harvester fleet approached in perfect formation, their world forms generating gravitational distortions that would tear apart anything caught in their path. But instead of fear, the Coalition forces felt a growing sense of anticipation. This was what 50,000 years of preparation had been leading to. Sarah, working with a team of enhanced humans and alien scientists, began the activation sequence. Each ancient facility across the galaxy powered up simultaneously, their energy signatures forming patterns that even the Centaurian quantum processors struggled to comprehend. "It's not just a weapon," she realized as the process continued. "The ancestors didn't build this to destroy. They built it to transform." The first signs of the transformation appeared in the space between Coalition ships. Reality itself seemed to ripple as new laws of physics asserted themselves. The quantum entanglement fields linking Coalition forces expanded exponentially, creating a space where the combined potential of every species could be fully expressed. Maya felt the change through her neural interface. Her quantum manipulation abilities, already far beyond their original limits, reached new levels of power. But more importantly, she could feel the abilities of every other species in the Coalition becoming available to her, not as borrowed power, but as natural extensions of her own capabilities. The Harvesters struck first, their world forms unleashing gravitational weapons that should have torn the Coalition fleet apart. But in the transformed space between the ships, those forces encountered principles they couldn't account for. Coalition vessels moved through the attacks as if they were mere illusions, their hulls glowing with energy that combined proximate power, Centaurian quantum fields, and human intuition into something entirely new. "They can't adapt to this," Maya's tactical officer reported with growing excitement. "Their evolutionary algorithms are trying to analyze what we've become, but there's nothing in their experience that comes close to matching it." The battle that followed defied conventional description. Coalition ships didn't just fight. They rewrote the local laws of physics to their advantage. Human quantum manipulators worked in perfect synchronization, with proximate energy wielders to create weapons that existed in multiple states simultaneously. Centaurian processors merged with human intuition to predict and counter Harvester adaptations before they could fully form. But the true power of the transformation showed in how it affected the Harvesters themselves. The space between the fleets, altered by the activated network, began to influence their biomechanical nature. Ships that had evolved over millennia to consume and adapt found themselves unable to process the fundamentally different reality they were encountering. The ancestors understood something fundamental about evolution. Sarah explained to the coalition leadership as they watched the battle unfold. The harvesters evolved to consume and adapt, always becoming stronger, but never truly changing. We evolved to transcend ourselves, to become something greater than the sum of our parts. The evidence played out before them. Harvester world forms, for all their power, couldn't maintain coherence in the transformed space. Their attempts to adapt only accelerated their dissolution, as if the very principles they were built upon were being rewritten at a fundamental level. The coalition forces pressed their advantage, but not with conventional attacks. Instead, they began expanding the transformed space, creating a new kind of reality that spread through the battlefield like a wave of change. Ships that had been fighting moments before found themselves becoming part of something larger, not a collective or a hive mind, but a new level of existence where unity and individuality could coexist. Maya, her consciousness expanded by the transformation, suddenly understood what they were becoming. This is what the ancestors saw, she transmitted to the fleet. Not just victory over the harvesters, but evolution beyond the limits of what any single species could achieve alone. The harvesters, their fundamental nature unable to cope with this transcendent change, began to break apart, not through violence or destruction, but through transformation. Their biomechanical forms, designed to consume and adapt, found themselves being reformed into something new, their very essence being rewritten by principles they couldn't comprehend. As the last harvester world form dissolved into the transformed space, the coalition fleet hung in silence, each crew member trying to process what they had become. They were still individuals, still members of their original species, but they were also part of something far greater, a new form of life that could exist in multiple states and dimensions simultaneously. Sarah, monitoring the changes from Unity Station, felt a final piece of genetic memory surface. The ancestors didn't just prepare us to survive. She announced to the assembled coalition leadership, they prepared us to shepherd the next stage of galactic evolution. The harvesters weren't our enemies. They were the catalyst we needed to reach our true potential. The transformation spread across coalition space, following the network of ancient facilities. On each world, species that had evolved along carefully engineered paths found themselves ascending to new levels of existence. The quantum entanglement fields that had linked their forces in battle became the foundation for a new kind of civilization, one where diversity was strength and unity didn't require conformity. Maya, standing on Unity Station's observation deck weeks later, watched as the transformed space continued to expand. Coalition ships no longer needed conventional drives or weapons. They had become expressions of their crew's combined potential, able to move through reality in ways that their ancestors had only dreamed of. We're not just stronger, she observed to her mixed-species crew. We're becoming what life was always meant to be, infinite in its diversity but unified in its purpose. The legacy of the stars, hidden for 50,000 years in human DNA and scattered across countless worlds, had finally been revealed. The ancestors hadn't just created weapons or tools, they had seeded the galaxy with the potential for transcendence, waiting for the moment when all their children could rise together. As the new era dawned, the transformed coalition began reaching out to other galaxies, seeking more life to share in their evolution. The harvesters, once their greatest threat, had become part of their shared consciousness. Their drive to adapt and consume transformed into a drive to explore and elevate. Sarah, working with scientists from across the transformed coalition, began documenting their change for future generations. We were never meant to be just warriors or survivors, she wrote. We were meant to be gardeners of consciousness, helping life throughout the universe reach its full potential. The price of evolution had been paid, not in destruction or domination, but in transformation and unity. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter as the transformed space spread, as if reality itself was celebrating the emergence of something new and wonderful in the cosmic dance. And somewhere, in the quantum fields that now linked all coalition consciousness, the ancestors watched their plan come to fruition. Their children had not just survived, they had transcended, becoming something greater than even they had imagined possible. The legacy of the stars would continue, not as a story of conflict and survival, but as an endless journey of growth and transformation, written across the infinite canvas of space and time by the combined consciousness of all living things. End of Part 5.